Good morning, good morning, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to this edition of Good Neighbor Talks. We've been a little hiatus over the last few weeks due to some, you know, some family things and obligations. But we're back now, and we're going to pick up where we left off at when we were talking about being quote unquote a good neighbor and talk about allyship to the LGBTQ community. When researching different ways to come up with explanations for why I'm an ally and why others should be an ally, we have to look at the common foundation that allyship is based on a lot of times some things and some people that might not directly impact yourself personally. So it's on a broader spectrum. So whereas though you can see like when something is right and something is wrong, and then you can actually look at it and say, I understand. And in some instances, you can see yourself in these people. For the last several years, and probably for just the longest time, immigration has been a hot button topic in this country for many different reasons. And majority of the time, the face of immigration is that undocumented worker, that that brown person that is, a migrant worker, um, working in the service industry and generally basically doing, jobs working in homes, being nannies, cutting lawns, picking blueberries and vegetables and fruits and working in these different processing plants and in dairy farms and things like that. Somebody said, and that somebody said that these people were taking black jobs, that the people were taking black jobs when other than I believe in the time of slavery, majority of black people don't do those jobs. Not now. So maybe I was watching a YouTube video several weeks ago, and a woman said their contingency plan for actually getting rid of undocumented workers and the immigrants and migrants was basically putting black people back to, on these farms. And it's not working. But I wanted to look at immigration when it comes to LGBT people and see people are going to watch this, and you might be part of the community or you may be an ally, and you say this immigration problem is not about you, so don't stand up. But we already see now that in a lot of ways, people that have legal status, people that are here legally, people that are actual citizens are being caught up in this torrential raid of just picking people up off the street or going to people's jobs and you know this all this just seems as though like this is not America. And that's even kind of contradictory coming from a black man that lives here because one of the few things that I love about this country is the freedom of speech. So I can say how much I hate the things that this government does and how it treats people. That's the freedom that you can't actually have in other countries. But it seems as though that's the freedom that's actually being trying to be trifled when it comes to dealing with the media and actually getting the word out and things being shut down. This is how it goes when you actually start to live in an oligarchy, which is, when it's just a bunch of, rich people that actually have to say, or when you deal with a tyrant type system when you're dealing with a king or a queen. Immigration should be important to people in the LGBT community because it's a lot of people that come here for asylum and refuge from the hatred and bigotry that is actually on the books. Um, they are coming to this country the right way, filling out applications and trying to just live a life not being tormented for just generally being for who they are. And see, I can get on board with that. I'm gonna be totally honest with you when it comes to immigration or illegal immigration or anything like that. People come here. I could give a shit. I don't care because how are you? Everybody here is an immigrant. Period. If you're not a Native American, if you're not, the 7%, because 93% of their population was ripped out, just basically destroyed by the colonials. So born here or not, your ancestors came here from somewhere. So how can you be an immigrant on stolen land? You know. So my experience, I work in the service industry. I've worked in the service industry for 36 years now, in food with restaurants. I've come across many people from different nations and nationalities, a lot of them from, Central, South America, Mexico, um, even people from India, things of that nature. A lot of brown people. And my experience was they were hardworking people. They got the job done. They cared about themselves. They're making money for their family. Sometimes they would work two, three jobs. Um, I didn't care about people's status because when you in a work atmosphere, especially if anybody worked in restaurants, things like that, you just want somebody that's going to be in that quote unquote foxhole with you, and that's going to grind. You know, so my my introduction to immigration and with people is like they were just hard workers that just wanted to survive and provide for their family. I had several different stories with dealing with people that came here legally and that also came here illegitimately because things got look over the years things got a little bit tighter and those you start running those I-9 forms. I was in man, you start running up management, so you start running those I-9 forms, you start running those social security numbers, and then you start finding out things about your workforce. And several I when I first worked at got to my first stop in my current profession, I had a partner who was a Peruvian young man. He was about in his mid 20s, and he came here as a teenager, and he was gay. He was out. I mean, I assumed he was gay because he was very his mannerism and his just the way he carried himself. So we wound up having a conversation, and I asked him, why did he? Oh, how long you been here? What brought you here? This, that, and other. And he straight up told me he fled Peru to save his life. He feared being ostracized and even murdered. Um, he had always been who he was, and he got picked on, and he did not have any protections from his family because he was even ostracized from him. Because a lot of times, what you in many cultures, and especially when it comes to Hispanic cultures, is that quote unquote machismo, that really masculinity. And if you are a feminine man, then you are basically shitted on from the door. But he generally told me like he feared for his life, and he couldn't see himself living his life the way that he wanted to, was staying there. So he left as a teenager, and he migrated and got asylum. He filled out an application, and he wound up finding a partner and wound up getting married and having the life that he wanted here. That story, mm, now this was 2013, you know. This was way before I and me. This is way before I consider myself an ally. But I figured that myself being humane in a sense where as though I respected this man. I respected this man as a human being. I respected his orientation. And we didn't have to get into that details. But I also saw greatness in his ability to travel thousands of miles on foot and car, not plane, and make his way to this country and do it and then get on the books. We're talking about a person that paid tax, talking about a person that was here that did the right thing. A lot of times we talk about undocumented and people sneaking in here, and that is so true. But it's many people that come here and do it the right way, and they still get wrapped up in this bullshit. I looked up, and you like, oh, Dion, what does this got to do with me? It's many people, it's many of your brothers and sisters that's in the community that comes here because they need to try to save themselves from harm. We talk about we see how trans people are treated here. We see how, especially black trans women, and about the murder rates, and we see about the beatings and the ostracized. But one thing that America has that a lot of other countries don't have, they have laws on the books. They have protections. And I know people would say, you know what, in the long run, what the hell that mean when you still got anti-gay people running around in this country and still doing what they want to do. But I would say you're absolutely right. However, they get punished. The person gets caught for doing those things, they get punished. There is no punishment in some countries for this. It's just another day at the office. It's just looked upon as just righteousness. I looked up a study from 2012 to 2017. It's the Williams Institute is a think tank out of UCLA. They saw that over wait a minute, it was over 11,000 applicants for asylum in the U.S. based solely on being LGBT. And the heavily many than 4,000 of those applications was specifically saying that because they fear for their lives because of their sexual orientation and their gender identity. Majority of these people came from the Northern Triangle in Central America, which consists of El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala. If and again, majority of those people are black and brown. Hint, hint, hint. See, only difference between American, a black American, African American, whatever, and this person, these black and brown people from Honduras or and Guatemala and these Spanish speaking countries, Cuba, is they speak Spanish and you speak broken English most of the time. That's the only difference. Because a lot of times you look at us, you know, you can't tell until we open our mouth. But these are the same things that goes on in the black community. And we already done hit to this many times because of machismo, because of fake ass religion. Because if you want to use that I'm supposed to hate somebody because it's said in some book, I think you not need to reevaluate your organized religion. You know, but that's my problem with many religions. That's not just Christianity, because I mean, many of these countries on this list, you know, Muslim. Half what I stated here plenty of times. Half my family is Muslim, and you know, Allah, Allah condemns the LGBT. But what can you do if you are who you are? You know, these regions that like the triangle, like, and I know people when you come across different when you talk to Hispanic people and I ran across and I know peers can say this and anybody that has like been around our organization, you run across a lot of people that are of Latinx or you know brown like Hispanic people that are part of the community heavily. Even going back to Stonewall when we talk about the founders of the movement, one of them was Hispanic Sylvia, you know, a Hispanic trans woman. When you actually tear down these walls and you start actually going and thinking and actually going through what's going on, these people, these quote unquote immigrants, are you. A large population of immigrants that are part of the LGBT community are from Africa, from the continent of Africa. Yeah, because think it's rough here. You think looking into it is rough for people that's Hispanic and from these Hispanic countries. Africans get it twofold. They'll get they'll get it from their home country, and then you think you get here, you go through your process, get your paperwork. But what usually winds up happening when people come here from a certain country, they get in a lot of times instead of assimilating, automatically assimilating, you go to somewhere that is safe and comfortable to you. So you go in areas where people like you, more immigrants, that may be from Nigeria or from Ghana or from Korea. Different. You go to these different areas. Big time in California, the Albanians. You go where your culture is. So you go where the culture is, and you get pushed back once you get here in America because you are part of the LGBT. Because you shunned over there, you come here for a better opportunity. So now you getting around people that are from there, and they have the same thought process, and that happens to a lot of people of color, black people. You know, it's crazy. I mean, doing the research, how the misinformation and the calling card for immigration, and I don't want to harp on the illegal immigration. Talk about immigration, people coming here from other countries for a reason, specifically coming here for asylum to save their lives. They don't talk about that. It's not looked upon as that. We always talk about uh, looking for a better opportunity for the American way to pull you up self from boots up from your bootstrap and make a way in this country. They don't tell you, and it actually is a guiding light. It's like, I want to go there because I can survive and live. I want to go there because I have the opportunity to be myself. It's almost comparison, with that kid that is sheltered and in the closet for their entire childhood and when it coming to age, and then when they graduate high school, they go away far, away for college, and then they be their true selves, and they don't never go back to Iowa. Yeah, I took a shot at Iowa because Iowa, Idaho, Nebraska, Mississippi, you know, they'll make you believe that they don't have gay people. That gay people don't live in those states, and gay people don't come from there. So I guess they just grow up a certain way. They go away to these daggone liberal arts colleges, and they go away to these big cities, and now they are peacocking now and just being part of the community. But they wasn't gay when they was baling hay and milking cows. No, that don't happen. It's very difficult. I'm going to assume I'm not in it, but I mean just reading the stories and just thinking about how it is just being a minority in this country. And then when I read on how such certain small portion of the population in these large, especially when we're talking about Africa, like there is the whole region. If you look up on Wikipedia and you look up about LGBT acceptance in the world, it's color coded. And like in North America, for most, in North America, the North American continent, it's like colored blue because it has acceptance and it has same sex marriage. And even when it goes through different areas, when it goes down into South America and Mexico, but then in the areas of Central America, like this triangle that I'm talking about, it's like gray, no can do, not available, possible detention. When you look on in North or back when you look on the continent of North Africa, the northern continent, it's like an orange. And orange was showing that it was possible um, jail time and detention, no free rights. Some portions blocked off in Africa and in Russia. And then when you look at a lot of Muslim states, it's red, red symbolizing blood, red symbolizing death. You being part of the community was punishable by death and by malicious death. You could actually beat and stone and kill a person that was gay on the street in these countries and it'd be justified. The same way it's justifiable for killing a daughter for quote unquote disrespecting the family in any way that they would consider disrespect. But the same way as whereas though you look at as a wife committing adultery, punishable. The husband keep is punishable by death. Or whereas though a sister, a brother could actually mercy kill a sister for losing her virginity without marriage. Shame on the family. And all these things we look at as relics of the past, or we don't understand. These people that come here, they're still dealing with these things. They're trying to save themselves. They're trying to get a little portion. Their American dream and our American dream, your American dream might be different. They just want to live and be themselves. You know, it's like William Institute also said it's like 1.3 million immigrants are in America. This is as of 2022. I don't know how many people they done deported this week, last week, or in the last 3 years. But that's relatively about 3% of the total immigration. But 1.3 million were people in the community. So 3% of the immigrants that come here as of 2022 was part of the community. That's over a million people that part of the, in this country. And it broke down to like it was big, and it makes sense. A lot of these immigrants were younger, or in their 20s and the teenagers, younger than other majority of the immigrants because these young men, and it was majority males, came of age and they identify who and what they are, and they know I got to get the fuck out of Dodge. I got to go somewhere. So it's just like that young man that I worked with came to me and told me he skipped out. He was 14. Um, Over 22% of these immigrants, over 200,000, are non-documented. They're what would you call illegal aliens. But close to a million, over 900,000, are here legally. They went through the process. And it's a significant, and I think I already knew this because I seen it, and Paris can, growing up in Jersey, significant population of the LGBT or these immigrants, these black and brown immigrants were, California, Texas, New York, New Jersey. These are hotbed safe havens and where for for these people to come with these immigrants and come because a lot of times, just like I said, a lot of people come from these countries and they have, you know, areas, they have towns, they have population, whereas though they all they live together. So like not like minded, because but in the sense whereas though culturally you feel safe at home because now you in a in a little Haitian area, or you in a not Houston Nigerians is big in Houston. When we in New Jersey, it's a high Pakistani type of Indian areas, and same thing when you go to like certain areas is you got people from Cuba, you got Puerto Rican areas, things, a lot of different things. You know, and because people like to be around familiarity. And the truth of the matter is, this is a strong portion of the LGBT community. You talk about you leaving home in this country, leaving home because you're not accepted, or you leave and you leaving from this state or this town or this little small town, or this city and this, that, and other. It's the same thing, just on a greater scale. So I'm saying all this so whereas though don't just listen to the 5 second news bite and the screaming about these immigrants and we're rounding these people up, this, that, and other. And everybody's not a criminal. Everybody's not here illegally. Everybody that is, many of the people that you come across that are here, they just they they just want a better life, and this proves it. It's like they said it's over 130,000 same-sex couples in this country that at least one of the spouses is foreign born, and I see it. I see it as an ally, not being entrenched in the community. But I see, I'm just walking on my daily. I see somebody, a brown person, with somebody that ain't brown. The people that they together, they couples, they match love wise and who they with, but they don't match in complexion. And then to even go even deeper into that, over 95,000 the same sex uh, couples are binational. So that means you got one person that is an American citizen and one person that is not American citizen, or maybe even undocumented. Goes back to what we talk about in the grand scheme of things when we talk about the LGBT community, about not judging people for who they love. Love is love and is found in many different colors of the rainbow. I think it's just an interesting perspective when we say as an ally, and we dig deeper and just understand that hmm, this immigration thing is actually really co- affecting my community too, because if you are a person LGBT, it's just like okay, these people are being persecuted the same things. Whereas though, and to an extent that I get persecuted for, but I have backup, and many of the states and many of the federal statutes protects me. So if somebody come at me disrespectfully and illegally, then there be repercussions. Whereas though your brothers and sisters from these countries that they don't have the same thing, so they literally want what you had. Is it perfect? Fuck no. Is it supposed to be better? Can we get better? Yeah. That's why IME exists. That's why these organizations exist. It's a to make it better. It's a long list. I found it was a long list of like when it came to immigration and for LGBT people that's from other countries. It's a long list of like the asylum task force. Then you got the Organization for Refugee Migration. Um, they had the African one is called Black LGBTQIA plus Migrant Project. Um, you- the Rainbow Railroad, Oasis Legal Services, and Rainbow Refugee, just to name a few. That these are organizations that actually help people in the community that are from these other countries sign, try to get asylum, fill out the applications, and actually be able to actually come to this country and be here. Now, granted, all this shit done went to hell in a handbasket in the last 6 months because it's just so troubling that these people that did things the right way, they're going to their court cases, going to, their hearings, and then they're getting arrested at their hearings for doing it the right way. We 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 losing our produce. The I work in, like I said, I work in food service. The quality of our vegetables and things. Everything is failing because systematically you dismantled your fucking workforce. Systematically by one switch at some damn high school or you know senior citizen center in November. You hit a box and you dismantled your workforce for your dairy and your agriculture. So you got issues with food. The whole going basically the state of Nebraska is going bankrupt because they don't have any workers. Dairy farmers all in South Dakota basically done ran off 70% of their workers. I'm getting off on a tangent, but it's just see this is where the hatred for somebody that don't look like you taking out your problems if things ain't perfect or the world ain't things ain't going right with you. It's because of them. They taking our resources. It's not true. It's not true. But they want you to believe. You believe everything that comes out that box. You believe everything from whatever somebody tell you. That idiot Kyrie Irving told you the same thing about fucking the COVID vaccines. Go do your own research. You do your own research about COVID vaccines, but you don't do your own research when it comes to your fucking pocket and it comes to your livelihood and it comes to what. what really immigration is really about. Without fucking immigration, this country is shut down. You would not be here without immigration. Another big thing that I wanted to finish off with, but one thing I want to leave you about about immigration and being a part of your community is take a time and actually look. I know there's plenty of people that's going to look at this that's part of the community, and you're going to know somebody that is Filipino, African, somebody from Central America that's Hispanic, and do yourself a favor, educate yourself, ask them, ask somebody that don't look like you. That's part if you don't know, because a lot of times you do know because we talk when we become friends. But if you find somebody that's part of the community that is originally from somewhere else, or even if they was born here but culturally they're from somewhere, and and, and I say Filipino or somebody Hispanic because let them tell you how it goes down where they come from. And I say that because I had a conversation with my sister a couple weeks ago. Again, we all know she lives in California, and one of the nurses at her hospital is a Filipino gentleman who is gay, and he's been gay all his life. And the way my sister described it, because I asked, I said, "So did he?" I said, "Ooh," when she said he's Filipino, I was like, "Ooh, gay don't get down with Filipinos. They are heavily Catholic, heavily religious, and they got on the books. They are anti-gay in that country, and literally, that man basically had the fake account for all of his 30 something years with old timey don't ask, don't tell. And when he actually came, he found somebody, a significant other that he wanted to make a life with, and he was moving from California to over here in Philadelphia. And he basically told his family what it was it about and came out to them, and he was disowned. When anybody, as my sister would say, and we know, you can tell if somebody by the way they carry themselves, if that they are part of the community. He did he hid in plain sight to his family, and they was in denial. He, and when he actually told them, they said they chose their religion over their son. Hmm. And it happens daily, and we know it happens daily in our community, but it happens throughout all the communities. And sometimes they don't have the refuge of just moving to a different town or moving to a different state. Their refuge is traveling thousands of miles and maybe even overseas and climbing over walls and under ditches to get to refuge. So Put that in your pipe and smoke it sometime. All right. I want to end on another little story that I came across that I've been tracking the last couple of weeks. It's the story of Derek Hoffman and his family. If you're not familiar with Mr. Hoffman, Derek Hoffman is a 46-year-old native of Texas, white white man, who has fallen victim to the propaganda of wokeness. This always gets me because I'm not the smartest man, but I'm just maybe I'm smarter than the average bear, and I guess it's just the fact I'm not white, so I don't have the privilege of thinking that the world is supposed to be the way that I imagine it to be. And people can take this the way that they want. But the fact of the matter, the only opinion that I come from is by being a black man in America. And the only opinion that I come from is being a student of the way that this country is and rolling with the punches. This man decided to move him, his wife, and his three minor children from Texas to Russia because of that he calls himself an anti woke dad. He did not want his children to be indoctrinated into the LGBT lifestyle or life. We had this conversation on one of the first like our second or third episode about it. Is well, it's not indoctrination, it's inclusion, and just talking about how it's not a cult. We just it's just about teaching people about the LGBT history, about how LGBT people has always existed, and have took a prominent role in many things that have taken place in this, not just America, in this world. But I digress. He complained about being LGBTQ characters being in movies and cartoons. The final straw was when he had an issue saying about U.S. education and how they were teaching LGBT uh, in schools. This motherfucker lived in Texas. They ain't teaching no LGBT in Texas. Texas. Come to find out, his daughter learned about lesbians from another student in class. And that just hit the fan with him. No, 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 no more. See, this is the ignorance. So you don't want to know that these people even exist. These are the people that are teaching the next generation to be anti-gay, to be anti-black, to be anti-whatever, instead of allowing them to make their own decisions and actually get educated about some other cultures, about some other identities, because they are so ignorant that they fear as though if they learn that they want to be indoctrinated and now they're going to be in the cult of the lesbian. Anyway, so what he decided to do was he moved him, his wife, and his three minor kids. He has three sons, 19 to 21. They said, fuck you. I ain't doing it. They ain't leaving. And you can excuse my language, but I'm just saying. He moved to Russia on this little scheme that Russia put in effect by Vladimir Putin put in effect several years ago called Russia's shared values visa, and he moved into the American village. The American village was actually made and invented by this United States expatriate. An expatriate is somebody that is American citizen, but they wind up moving and living abroad. His Tim Kirby, and they had this village where it's supposed to attract Westerners that wanted to avoid the new neoliberal norms of Western civilization. Like, I don't know, black people, you know, exist, gay people exist. I don't know, women should actually get a fair working wage. You know what? Let's, get rid of the term redskin. I don't know. Let's stop, like, I don't know, choking and black people on street corners and you letting it go by the police. You know, all the shit that made America great, all that, get rid of all that. Using, pronouns and all that. I don't know. White people shit. So he moved his family to a country with a bunch of daggone, anti woke people. But how many people lived in American Village? Him and one other family. They got two. Seemed real popular, right? So you went to Russia in March and you want, but you don't, white people shit. You don't even speak the language. Sound familiar, American? You come here and you don't even learn the language. White man went over there. They white. They don't speak English. So what he do? He want to assimilate because assimilation means becoming part of the culture and actually becoming one with the majority culture. Because immigrants come to America and they refuse to assimilate. They just want to get whatever they want and want America to give them a free ride. I'm not that guy. I'm willing to put in my work so I can get more acceptance and become a Russian. So it was suggested to him that he could get Russian citizenship faster if he joined the military. But because um, he was a welder, and it was like it would be non-combative. You can be a welder and a war correspondent, and it'd be cool, and you'll get more acceptance, for citizenship for your new country, this, that, and other. And guess what happened? Guess what happened, white man? They've sent him for a week's worth of training, combat training, and they put his ass on the front line as of July 20th. He did a week. His wife vlogged that it's been stressful. She can't believe it. She was 3 years sober, but now she back drinking. All this because you, as a parent, couldn't have a conversation with your children about what a lesbian is. You rather hide yourself in the sand, or actually go hide yourself on the front lines of fucking Ukraine. Never been in the military. Go on the word that you wouldn't actually see the front line and damn, guess that handshake agreement didn't go well for you. I don't wish ill will onto ignorant people. I don't wish death onto anyone. However, when you actually just set yourself up because you hate So many people that are not like you to the point that you will move your family into substandard lifestyle where you don't know the language and you just put yourself in a position where as though they won't have a father to raise those three children. And put yourself in a situation where as though your wife has given up her sobriety because of your anti wokeness and because you're a hatred of the LGBT community. You get the day that you deserve. And period. You get what you deserve. With that, that's going to end our this week's episode. I hope I gave some of y'all some type of enlightenment. I hope you got educated. I hope it made you think. Um, a lot of big things coming up in the future for the IME. A lot of big things going on right now. Um, on Tuesdays we got that in black panel show. Um, very entertaining, very educational. Is and oof, I call it daggone. It's shock value reality TV. It's reality TV where the panel don't know they. I don't think they actually know a camera is on because it just seems to me like just a in-depth conversation going back and forth with people, and it just so happened that somebody recorded this shit. But it's very intense. You can check that out on Tuesdays. And we have our upcoming Me Fest on August 24th. Get your tickets. Uh, it's a excellent venue, food, entertainment. Uh, what some people may call, the Black Pride. We just call it our festival, or our music, food, love, and it's at a great venue this year. So check it out if you don't already have it. If you could seeing this on different YouTube or whatever, Facebook or whatever, download the IME app. It's getting good. The community that we're building there, the different guests we have, blogs throughout the week about different subjects. I had I had I'm LGBT military in the military blog. I do a political blog every third week. Then we had it's like different guest bloggers about mental health. We had that up this week, and it's just current events, different things that's going on throughout the country, throughout the world, and even here in little old Delaware with that LGBTQ commission that the governor's putting together. Um, so you can stay informed even if you're not informed, and you can get it up to date. And I know how it is. A lot of times we go about our lives and we don't want to actually cause bring anything, any type of negativity or anything. Or we, if I don't know, then I don't know, so I'll be okay. Now, when it comes to you and being part of the community, you can stay closely knitted and educated, and know that we IME is here for you, and we're going to keep you informed. And if you are a possible ally or you want to learn more about the community and know if you are or not, about our ally, you know, these are a lot of things that the tools that you need to be an ally. It's a whole tool section on there. So you can actually give yourself a test. And because I say so often, I didn't know what I was. I didn't know what the title was. I just was me. Back when I was talking to that gentleman at my job 12 years ago, there was no I in me. But I had compassion, I had empathy, and I felt for my coworker for his struggle. Ultimately, I guess that made me an ally. Thanks for watching and see you next week. And remember always be a good neighbor. Thank you.